Let's get right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to completely transform how kids study. I mean, if you've ever watched a student sit at their desk for hours, totally stressed out, only to completely blank on the actual test, you're definitely in the right place. We're going to break those bad habits and look at how to use AI not as some cheap cheat code, but as a serious tool for deep, lasting understanding. This really captures that familiar frustration perfectly. Notebooks everywhere, flashcards stacked a mile high, and they still feel like they don't get it. It's like they're color coding everything with 5 different highlighters, putting in genuine, hard effort, but still bringing home a C. So, why does it happen? Well, it's because they're trapped in what we call the illusion of learning. To fix those steady woes, we're going to follow this clear roadmap. We'll cover the illusion of learning, the jigsaw puzzle framework, using AI as a personal tutor, building the internal database, and finally, wrap it up with the testing sandwich. All right, section 1, the illusion of learning. Let's look at why simply working harder isn't working anymore. Here's the thing. When an AI explains a complex topic, it's so easy for a kid to just nod along and think, oh yeah, I get it. But the data is pretty clear on this. A passive learner can read AI-generated answers for 30 whole minutes and still walk away completely confused. Meanwhile, an active learner, someone who actually interrogates their own confusion, can break through that exact same problem in just 2 minutes. It's a massive difference. Moving on to section 2, the jigsaw puzzle framework, which is a step-by-step method to build a better approach. So I want you to think of learning a new subject like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. First, you have to know what the picture on the box looks like, right? That's step 1, your goal. Then you gather up your missing pieces in step 2, resources. Step 3 is priming, to sort of orient your brain. Step 4 is comprehension, where you assemble the layers. And finally, step 5 is implementation, snapping those final pieces together. Now, the absolute secret weapon in all this is priming. It barely takes any time, maybe 2 to 5% of a whole study block. We're talking about just skimming headings, glancing at a diagram, or even taking a practice quiz and failing it before you even know the answers. Doing that subconsciously prepares the brain. And believe it or not, this one simple step can boost a kid's learning speed and retention by 10 to 20%. And look, to prevent that massive burnout, we really need to protect a student's energy. Grinding through a simple math chapter for 3 hours straight, that's agonizing. Instead, we want to introduce interleaving. This just means mixing up different subjects in one session, say an hour of Spanish and then an hour of science. It keeps the brain fresh, it maintains motivation, and it actually accelerates the learning process. Okay, section 3, AI as a personal tutor, creating safe spaces for confusion. Because when kids inevitably hit a wall, and they will, AI provides something that a crowded, noisy classroom rarely can, a psychologically safe space. I mean, let's be honest, kids are often terrified of raising their hand and looking dumb in front of their friends. But with AI, they can ask the absolute most basic foundational questions without any fear of judgment whatsoever. But here is the catch. We have to teach kids to be active pilots here. They shouldn't just be clicking those easy auto-suggestions. If a physics problem about, say, 50 newtons of force is confusing them, they should take a picture of it and ask the AI for a real-world, step-by-step analogy. Tell the AI to explain the math like it's just simple division. They need to point out exact areas of confusion and demand a dynamic test to find out exactly where their understanding is breaking down. Which brings us to section 4, building the internal database. This is where the learning actually happens. Think about it. Spending hours making perfectly organized folders and creating this aesthetic, neon-highlighted external database of notes is, well, it's effectively a waste of time. Why? Because the exam is only going to test what a student has successfully transferred into their internal database, their brain. They literally cannot bring their beautiful notes into the test. So every single study minute needs to focus on making that information stick inside their head. And that leads perfectly into section 5, the testing sandwich, our method for cementing that knowledge. So how do we guarantee the information actually makes it into that internal database? Kids can use AI to build a testing sandwich. It's super simple. They just scan a dense textbook page and ask the AI to generate 3 things. First, short answer questions to prime their brain. Second, concise notes for them to read and recall. And third, multiple choice questions to finish out the session and immediately test what they just absorbed. But to make sure that testing sandwich actually sticks around for midterms, a student absolutely has to apply spaced repetitions. They need to do the sandwich today, do it again in a week, review it in 6 weeks, and finally at 6 months. If they don't revisit it, the brain just tosses the data out. And the beauty is, AI can instantly generate fresh new quizzes for those exact intervals, so the student is quite literally always prepared.
Now, as we wrap up, I really want to leave you with this powerful paradigm shift. Your goal is not to make learning easy. AI is this incredibly powerful tool to guide learning, absolutely. But building a true mental model requires actual mental effort. If the AI is doing all the heavy lifting and thinking, the brain just isn't learning. That messy, chaotic struggle of trying to connect the puzzle pieces together, that is the exact feeling of a brain working and growing. Information is easier to access today than at any other point in human history. The true bottleneck for students isn't finding the right answer anymore. It's their willingness to tackle the difficulty of turning raw facts into connected knowledge. So, are you ready to stop studying hard and start struggling smart? How will you help the next generation use these tools to completely change their next study session? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.